So someone asked me on Twitter, what is the NBA equivalent of the Micah Parsons trade that happened yesterday? NFL NBA trades are hard to compare only due to the fact that in the NBA, generally speaking, individuals have much more of an impact on winning. But Parsons is one of the few players in the NFL that is a true game changer. If you acquire him, your team is going to get much, much better. And the first comp everyone's going to jump to is the Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis trade. Because it's a Dallas team, because it's a player in his prime, people are going to compare it to this. But I think this one's a little bit too far. I don't think you could compare anything to the shock of the Luka trade. It came out of nowhere. The Mavericks had made the finals the year before. Luka was still in his prime. He wanted to stay with the Mavericks. At least Parsons was in the middle of a contract negotiation and didn't want to be in Dallas long term because they weren't willing to pay him. And also, Luka's one of those players that I think you can only compare to a quarterback in the NFL in terms of importance. This would be like if the Bills just traded Josh Allen out of nowhere, fresh off winning MVP and getting to another AFC Championship game. There is no comparison. Other people have suggested trades like the Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets trade, but I think that Parsons is just a much better player. Derek White to the Celtics, another important role player on a championship team, was another one, just because both of these teams did not get a lot back for these players. But when they traded for these players, they were not the level of players that they became for their championship teams. And Parsons right now is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, one of the 5 best defenders in football in the middle of his prime. Another one that someone suggested to me was the Jimmy Butler to the Heat trade. My Sixers traded away Jimmy when they obviously shouldn't have. It was a life raft for the Heat. It led to 2 NBA Finals appearances. And while I think this one's a little bit closer, Jimmy was a free agent this summer, and they really had no leverage in negotiations. They probably should have done better than Josh Richardson in a sign-and trade, but ultimately Jimmy could have walked to a team with cap space, and the Sixers would have been left with nothing. Parsons is still under contract for another year, and then from there they could have franchise tagged him. He could be on the Cowboys for the next 2 to 3 years at least. But ultimately, my favorite comparison is the Pau Gasol to the Lakers trade. Pau was just entering his prime, was clearly one of the 20 best players in the NBA. The Lakers desperately needed a second option to take them from fringe contenders to making them legit contenders. Once they got Pau, he made multiple All-NBA teams. They got to 3 straight NBA Finals. They won 2 of them. And while I'm not saying the Packers are necessarily going to do that, they are both legacy franchises in their sports. And the return for Pau at the time was insane. Similar to the Parsons trade, it was basically 2 late first-round picks, salary filler, and then they were lucky that Marc Gasol, Pau's younger brother, was also included in the trade, and he eventually became a very good NBA player. I would be surprised if the Cowboys got the equivalent of a Marc Gasol